Hey everybody, this is Tim Hewer, and I saw a lot of comments about people wondering how they could use SQLite in a Metro style app with C#, and so I thought I'd actually just demonstrate a walkthrough on the full end-to-end from building SQLite to actually using it in a Metro style C# application. The first thing is, until the binary is actually produced, you're going to have to build it from the WinRT branch yourself. And in order to do that, you're going to need a couple tools. First, Fossil, which is a source control management system, and then a few updates. Mainly the tool that you need is this Gawk executable update. Now these are all the URLs to where you can get these are listed in a OneNote I have on my SkyDrive that will be linked in this video. And then once you have those, what you need to do is just make sure that they are mapped in your path variable for your profile. I just put these in my user profile here, and you can see that I have those in my path variables there. Once those are in, what you need to do is go ahead and open up a Visual Studio command prompt. I'm choosing x86 here just for demonstration purposes. And what I'm going to do is just create a directory at the root called SQLite. And so the first thing we're actually going to do is actually build SQLite, since the current binary is not available. So we'll create a directory called SQLite, and then we will actually use the Fossil tool, and we will clone the source code. And the second parameter you put in is just the name of kind of the database. In this case, I'm just choosing SQLite3.fossil, and I hit enter. Now what this is going to do is go ahead and fetch the current source code, and this will take a few seconds depending on your connection, and it kind of chunks the downloads and puts them into this database here, this Fossil file. Okay, now that we have that downloaded, if we do a dir, we can see that all we have is that actual Fossil file. So now we'll use Fossil again to open that basically that database, and it will open it out and basically expand the source code. So again, if we do a dir, now we have all the source code there. Now the next thing we want to do is actually move to the WinRT branch, because as of the time of this recording, not everything was merged. So we say Fossil checkout WinRT, and it's basically just going to refresh with that specific branch information. And now we just need to build SQLite. And again, make sure that we're doing this from a Visual Studio command prompt. And since we're in the x86 command prompt, the version that will be output is x86. So we issue the make command, and the SQLite team has actually made this very simple for us. There's a make file there already, and we say we want to build SQLite3 DLL, and we add this macro here for WinRT equal 1. And we hit enter, and basically it's going to go through, create what SQLite calls the amalgamation, which is that SQLite3.c file there, and create the header, the lib, the PDBs, and the DLL. And so if we look at the directory now, we can see that we have this SQLite3 DLL. So now how would we use this in a Metro style application using C#? So I have a Metro style application here, and this was just a blank application. I've just added a list view to it here just to show the purposes. And then in my main page here, currently I just have this person class here. Now the first thing we need to do is actually get SQLite into our package. So absent the ability to, say, add reference to something, we need to add that DLL to our package. So we're going to go ahead and browse to that, and we can take a look, and we'll just add that DLL to our package. And here what we're going to do is actually mark that as content, and I'm going to say copy always. And so we're going to make sure that that actually copies to the output of the project. And because this is actually a native DLL, even in our managed application, we need to make sure that we're declaring a dependency correctly, and we're going to create a dependency on the C++ runtime package. Now you'll see that I have a bang here on my reference to the C++ runtime package, and that's because our current configuration is any CPU. When using a native component, you can't have a neutral architecture, so you have to choose a specific architecture. And since we built SQLite 3 DLL in x86, I'm going to change that to x86, and you'll see the bang go away. So now what we need to do is find some way to access SQLite and be able to create a database. Now, I prefer a link library, and so I'm going to add a NuGet reference to a library called SQLite-net. And by default, if you're using Windows 8 Express, the only configuration you'll have in NuGet is this first Windows 8 packages. And you can just go ahead and add a new one to the full package, which is the URL that you'll see here, and I'll link to it in the video as well. And then once you have that, you'll be able to go ahead and search, and you can type SQLite-net, and after a few seconds, it'll show up. This is the one that you want right here by Frank Kruger, and once you click install, it will basically include a couple source files for you here, SQLite CS and SQLite async CS. Now what we can do here is let's just go ahead and do a very quick example just to show how this library works. I'm going to add a loaded tag here, and first thing we need to do is create a database. Now where you need to create the database is in the application data folder for your package. You can't just create it anywhere. And the safest place is in the application data location for your package. So we're going to just say dbpath equal Windows storage application data current package local folder, and actually let's just do path combine that path along with the name of our database, and we'll call this people, and we'll call this people DB. And now we just want to create that database. So we're going to say var db equals SQLite. That's right. We want to create a new SQLite connection, and we give it the path. So we just gave it that db path there, and that's going to basically create the database for us. Now, actually, what we should do is wrap this in a using statement so that we can have the dispose pattern work correctly for us here and automatically. And so now we want to add some data. So we're going to go ahead and first create a table, and this particular library allows us to kind of use a link mechanism here. So I'm going to say I want to create a table of type person, and then we'll just add an iterator here to say for let's add 10 people. I want to essentially basically insert into this a new person object, and we'll go ID, we'll give it the integer here, first name we'll say first plus the value, and last name we'll say last plus the value here. And so we're going to insert 10 people into that database there. Now, the best way to do this here is actually to run this in a transaction. So this particular library allows us to run this in a transaction here. So we'll just use a quick lambda expression here, and that would insert the tables here. Now, the next thing that we can do is actually do some data binding. So if you remember, we have this list view here named people, and let's go ahead and just say people item source is going to equal table query of type person, and this is basically a select all right here, and we're going to bind that information there. And so the other thing we can go ahead and do in here is define our metadata here, so we can make sure that this this particular ID is both a primary key and auto increments, because this library gives us the ability to annotate information like that. So we're basically saying ID is an auto incrementing primary key value here, and it's going to automatically, when we create this table, use the metadata here to populate that. And so let's see, we got everything wired up here correctly, and let's go ahead and build and make sure it builds clean. And let's go ahead and deploy so we can see the output. Now deploy is basically going to simulate the application install, and so if we look at that output here, we can see this AppX folder, and this is going to show kind of the output, and you'll see that the SQLite 3 DLL is a part of that there, and our code as well is part of the exe here, and because the NuGet package is basically source here that we're compiling in our application. So if we did everything correctly, we can run this, and we should see the 10 people bind, which is basically coming from the database. Now if we wanted to see the database, we could go into where the packages are located, and let's see, let's go to users, Tim Hewer, app data, local packages, and this is probably the last one that we created, local site, and we can see people.db there. Now if you had a SQLite database manager, Firefox has an extension. There's also some standalone tools that you could use. You could open this up and you would see the table structure right here, and be able to insert information and basically query that back on. So in a nutshell, just to demonstrate, we built SQLite, we added the DLL to our project, marked it as content, made sure that we add a reference to the C++ runtime, made sure that we chose an architect-specific platform here. We used NuGet to add a reference to the SQLite-net project here, which all the source code is available to you. It's an open source project. And then we actually used that library to create a new database using the proper path, which is in the application data location for our package. We created a table based on a type. We inserted 10 new people, and then we did a query here and bound it to our item source. So real quick and dirty sample, but hopefully this will clear up some confusion that people thought. I hope you found this helpful. Thanks a lot.